Now, we're going to be looking at one of the most basic things in Vue.js. But first, let's look at what our typical Vue app looks like. We have a script tag where you have all of your JavaScript stuff, where you declare variables and states and stuff. This is where you have it in the script setup. And we have this setup tag here because it allows us to write stuff in Vue in the script setup within the script without having to have a weird syntax. Yeah, without having to have an export default like this. So now after that we have the template file, the template tag. This is where you write your HTML stuff. This is where you render the DOM. And for this to work, you need a single root element for your page. It can be a main tag, a div tag, whatever you want. But typically it is a div tag unless you're writing components, which we're going to get into later. After that, you have the style tag. The style tag helps you write your CSS. This is where you write your CSS. But of course, you can use Tailwind CSS and other preprocessors like CSS with your Vue file, which we're going to get into later. But if you're used to writing typical CSS, you can write this here, or you can write it in a separate CSS file. We're going to get into styling later, so I will explain a bit more later. But as you can see, the style tag has a scoped attribute. Now, this scoped attribute is basically saying, let the style that I declare here, or the styles that are right here, let it be only for this page without going into other pages. So that's basically what a typical Vue app would look like. Now, we want to get into one of the most basic of Vue apps, which is declaring states. Typically, in a JavaScript file, if you were to declare a variable, you just go const, say, my variable equals whatever you want it to be, whether it be a string, a number, a boolean, whatever you want it to be, or an object or an array. But having this in Vue.js is not so common. You can write this if you want to declare a constant, Adam. If you want to declare a constant, you can still use this, and you can use this in your app, but this is not how we declare states that react to changes in Vue. To declare states that react to changes in Vue, we use something called refs. So let's go ahead and import ref from Vue. Oh, let's just write it. We go const message. Let's just msg equals ref, and it's automatically imported from Vue. And if that is not imported, you can just bring your cursor here or the pointer here and type control space, and this will bring the options, and you can just click on ref to have it imported. But ref, open bracket, and you can set your value. You can see it is inferred here. The value is inferred here to be a string, which you can say hello world. And that is basically it. Now, message is very versatile. It is basically like declaring a variable in normal JavaScript. So it can either be a string, a number, object. You can see the type would be inferred as being an object here. And it can be an array, or anything you want it to be. Basically, it can be an object. All of JavaScript object types, floats, it can be whatever, all of JavaScript data types. So for now we're just going to leave it as a string and have it go string message, and have it declare a message, hello world. And there you have it. Now that we've declared this message, how do we show it to the user? That's a really big question. Now, in the script setup here, the way we show this to the user is if we come down here, let's just go ahead and console it and log it to the console. You can go console.log msg and let's save. We save and come back to our app here. Just inspect. Let me get rid of this. So if we inspect and come back to our console, we can see this value being logged to the console, ref implied. We've logged our message here to the console, but we're getting a bunch of stuff that we don't really know what to do with. Now, that's typically fine. Fine in the sense that's how view is. To get access to the actual value you want in a script tag set up like this, you want to have to access the value. So when you go message, our message here, we want to access the dot value. And if we console that to the, if we log that to the console, we can see we get hello world. This is our value now. This is by having the dot value, we're accessing this in the console. So we need the dot value to access ref elements. In refs, we need the dot value to access ref contents or ref values in the console. Now you might be thinking, how do we show this to the user via the DOM? Let's just go ahead and clear this. The way we did this is through interpolation. Now, if you're familiar with JavaScript, typically when you interpolate in JavaScript, you might have something like this: backticks, then a dollar sign, and brackets. Brackets like this, you can go message, the value, and before this, you can have my message. If you save this, you can see that it displays my message, hello world, in the console. This is how you would interpolate in JavaScript. But in Vue templates, it is a little bit different. We can come back to our H1 tag here. Let me just go ahead and zoom in a bit. Yeah. Now that this is a little bit zoomed in, if we come back here to our H1 tag, we can go and click on two curly brackets. You can go back in. Let me go back and delete this. You can click. You see the first curly bracket, the second curly bracket, and here you want to have message. We save and we come back to our console or our project. You can see we have hello world displayed. And the way this works is, you can see instead of getting the weird ref implied that we got when we first logged message without adding the value, you can see we're not getting that weird ref implied. We're just getting the value. And that's because Vue handles that for us. So we don't have to have the dot value when we're interpolating and the template. That is ref, the basics of ref. The next thing I want to talk about is reactive. Now, this shouldn't be mixed with reactivity, but with reactive, you declare objects. It is the recommended way of declaring objects. And sometimes you might want to have, let me just go ahead and get rid of this. Sometimes you might want to have a couple of things for ref. So say user profile, for example, you can have const name equal Adam. And this, all of this is fine. You can have this. This should be in refs, by the way, sorry. And save. Now there's nothing wrong with having this, but you can see we are already writing a bunch of stuff for, well, a lot of things already, basically. We're having multiple refs for the same user. While this belongs to the same user, instead of having this multiple refs, what we can do is just declare a reactive object. So the way we declare a reactive object is we go const. Let's just call this user equal, and we just type reactive. You can see it is also imported from view reactive brackets like this, and we also add curly brackets. So it's like you declaring a normal object. It's like you're declaring a normal object unless for the fact that it is reactive. So instead of having that multiple stuff over there, that multiple refs, we can just basically have a name, Adam, and comma. It is a normal object, but it is reactive. So superpower, super strength, and the rating should be 4.5. Now, if we come back here to our app, we can have this displayed. And let's just write a div tag. Let's say p tag. Remember, curly braces for interpolation. So we go user dot. You can see name rating superpower. Let's display the name Adam. So let's do the same thing for superpower rating. User dash superpower. User that rate. And if we save this, you see we have the three values. So with just this one line of code, we've gotten rid of these three refs. And to top it all off, it is reactive. Now, this isn't much of an explanation for reactivity, but we're going to get into that more later when we started working with stuff such as event handling and just changing state. Then we would tend to understand reactivity more. Here we've successfully declared refs and reactive, and we've been able to interpolate, which is show this stuff to the DOM. And now let's talk one more thing that I want to talk about in this session is computed. Now, computed is typically they will say calculation heavy stuff. So for example, let's add one more line to this. Let's call this status true. Let's just give this true. So let's come here and add one more line of p tag. Let's show if status is true, we want to show active to the user, else we want to show not active. So we're going to be doing this with ternary operators. Typically, this is what you have in your DOM here, in your template tag here. You would want to write something around this stuff. So if user dot status, have it display active, and else not active. If we save, we get active. Yay! Now, if we come back here and change this to force, not active. Now, there's nothing wrong with writing this, but most often, if you're having a lot of text like this in your application, then your code is soon to become a little bit more repetitive, and not just being repetitive, but also it gets more bloated. How you handle stuff like this is with computed. So let's comment under here and say const status equal computed. It's also imported from ref, and this takes a callback. It takes a callback function computed. So you can see it takes a callback function that returns what you want it to return. So for computed here, we're just gonna write our callback function, and we can have this on the same line, or we can just put curly braces and write return. So with this defined, let's go ahead and cut out this and paste. So user.status.active, and instead of writing this here, we can just come here and just write status. We still get the same thing, because but instead of having to write computation heavy stuff in our HTML tag, we can just write it here in the script setup and not worry about it, not having to worry about it anywhere in our app. And this makes our code a little bit cleaner, but also there are other benefits to it that Vue handles under the hood, such as performance and stuff that Vue handles under the hood. So that is reactivity and a little bit of syntax for Vue.